Ever since we started to understand the intricacies of geopolitical games, we have been forced with the idea that modern day India cannot do without the oil from the West Asian countries. But often there is a huge difference between our perception of reality and the evidence produced by data. For example, you will be surprised to know that India can easily meet its energy demands without these countries. But if India decided not to export food to the region, they would not be able to survive a week. Hi and welcome to TFI English, the national socio-political analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Piyush, and if you haven't subscribed to the TFI English channel yet, hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to receive all the latest updates. Coming back to the story, I'm here to tell you why West Asia's threat to browbeat India is empty and hollow. West Asia is quite a peculiar place for humans to live. The area is considered as one of the most prosperous in the modern world. However, the prosperity in the region is only a recent phenomenon. Throughout its history, the area has been mired in infighting among various tribal groups. Sympathizers of these fanatics blame it on political and religious differences. But the fact of the matter is that deep down, securing food supply for future generation is the main reason behind any tribal warfare. West Asia's road to prosperity opened only when the world started to depend on oil-driven energy. The oil reserves opened the floodgates for investment in the region. Given the fact that the region became a key oil supplier for the rest of the world, the tribal warfare subsided for a brief period and the region started to prosper on the petrodollar earnings. However, the region's poor geography made it next to impossible to survive without food imports. The area is arid and subject to severe drought. Only 2% of the region falling in the member states of Gulf Cooperation Council is arable. That is why the region has to buy food from outside. Depending on the climate, the region imports anywhere between 80 to 90% of its required food stocks. Media reports may not tell you much, but official statistics do tell us how much these countries are dependent on India's food export. India provides almost everything available on a meal plate in West Asian countries. These countries not only avail food grains like rice, maize, and wheat from India, but they also need India for fruits, dairy products, processed vegetables, cereals, and onions, among others. Indian rice is in huge demand in the region, especially during the month of Ramzan. It includes both basmati as well as non-basmati rice. In the financial year of 2020-21, India exported nearly 24 million metric tons of rice to the region. Talking about wheat, in the same financial year, the Western Asian countries availed 282,678 metric tons of wheat from us. India also supplied 50,325 metric tons of maize to the region. West Asia's dependency on India for its protein requirement is also one of the big reasons why they cannot afford to antagonize us for long. In financial year 2020-21, India exported 51,495 metric tons of pulses to West Asia. More protein requirements were met through 59,576 metric tons of other cereals produced in India. Talking about non-veg sources of protein, even in this arena, the region is dependent on India. In the same financial year, India exported 58.97 metric tons of processed meat to the region. Similarly, buffalo meat worth $297.78 million were exported by India. Sheep and goat meat accounted for 6,859.20 metric tons of India's export to the war-torn region. Besides the aforementioned major sources of nutrients, people also require some micronutrients through fruits, vegetables, dry fruits, poultry products, and dairy products, among others. India has left no stone unturned in facilitating these sources as well. Food products such as fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, onions, processed vegetables, grapes, mangoes, jaggery, groundnut, cucumber, walnuts, and many other products are also key components of India's food export basket to the region. Individually speaking, Saudi Arabia was the biggest importer of India's food produce in the year. it imported 1,542,276.22 metric tons of food in the year. UAE with 1,472,568.08 metric tons is a close second. Qatar, Oman, Kuwait and Bahrain are other major importers of India's food producers. In total, India exported 4,389,310.10 metric tons of food to the region encompassing Gulf Cooperation Council in the financial year of 2020-21. To put it in simple terms, West Asian countries start their morning with the tea served with Indian milk and sugar. During their lunch, they eat Indian food grains, and at night, they rely on India for their dinner and other recreational food items. In fact, the region is so dependent on India that during the times of COVID, the countries in the region had to resort to emergency measures to avail food from India. Now compare that with India's dependence on them. India is mainly dependent on these few countries for oil and gas. However, over the years, India has decreased its reliance on them to a large extent. Currently, Russia is emerging as an extremely viable and more reliable alternative for both these sources of energy. On the other hand, West Asian countries do not have any alternatives if India decides to shun them. They can no longer boast of the US as an ally. Similarly, the other breadbasket comprising of Russia and Ukraine are not in a position to feed them. In spite of so much inequity in favor of India, it is surprising that these countries even dared to summon Indian diplomats.